Welcome to our world where stories have a soul and tales hold endless secrets. You've illuminated the channel with your presence today. Get ready, because today's story is not just a fleeting tale. We will delve into the depths of unexpected drama and conflicts that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very last moment. Are you ready to uncover the secret that changed the course of events? Before we embark on our journey, I want to extend a very special greeting to all our loyal followers from which country do you follow the channel from? Tell me in the comments. From which city are you watching us? And what are your expectations for our story's hero today? In the heart of the bustling city of Eldoria, where the scent of rare spices mingled with the clamor of vendors, Layla stood behind her simple tea cart. She wasn't just a tea seller. She was an artist in blending herbs, telling stories to her customers while serving them warm, soul-reviving drinks. Layla was a girl with raven black hair, cascading like a waterfall over her shoulders, and wide, honey-colored eyes, reflecting a mix of dreams and resilience. Despite her humble life, she possessed an aura of quiet beauty and undeniable charm. Layla's most treasured possession was an old silver ring, inherited from her late mother. The ring was engraved with intricate patterns, whose meaning she never understood, centered by a faded blue-gray gemstone that seemed to hold the secrets of centuries past. She considered it merely a family heirloom, a small amulet protecting her from life's harshness. She would touch it in moments of loneliness and fear, feeling a strange warmth flowing through it, as if her mother's hand still held hers. Eldoria was a vibrant city, but beneath its glittering surface, there were whispers of forgotten magical kingdoms and tales of hidden magic flowing in the veins of the earth, told by grandmothers to their grandchildren as bedtime stories. One day, as Layla was preparing to sell tea at dawn, she noticed something strange. The jasmine flowers that usually withered quickly around her cart began to revive and bloom unnaturally as soon as Layla approached them. A hungry street cat, always avoiding humans, sat calmly at her feet, purring contentedly. This wasn't the first time. Often she would hear faint whispers in the air, understood by no one but her, especially when she was near the ring. These small incidents piqued her curiosity, but she blamed them on her vivid imagination. That morning, as the golden sunlight cast long shadows on Eldoria's narrow alleys, an old woman of dignity approached Layla's cart, wearing a faded robe and leaning on a carved wooden staff. Her eyes, despite the wrinkles of time, shone with sharp intelligence and mysterious depth. She asked for a simple tea, but her gaze never left the ring on Layla's finger. "A beautiful ring, my daughter," the old woman said in a calm voice with a unique resonance. "Does it have a story?" Layla smiled sadly. "It's all I have left of my mother." A mysterious smile appeared on the old woman's face. Some stories don't die with their owners. They await someone to tell them again. At that moment, a small child running quickly stumbled and almost fell into a muddy puddle. Without thinking, Layla extended her hand, feeling a strange surge of energy from her, as if the air around her had become thick. The child's fall slowed for a brief moment, giving him time to regain his balance. No one noticed this, except Layla and the old woman. The old woman looked at Layla with wide eyes, then at the ring, which seemed to flicker with a faint glow across its faded gemstone. "We must talk, my daughter," the old woman said, her eyes fixed on Layla. "I am Ilara, and I have waited for you for a long time." Ilara led Layla to a quiet alley away from the market's hustle, where they sat on an old stone step. Ilara began to tell a story Layla couldn't have imagined even in her wildest dreams. "This ring, Layla, is not just an ornament. It is the royal signet ring of the kingdom of Athelgrad, a magical kingdom hidden from the eyes of the mundane world for centuries." Layla's eyes widened in astonishment. "Athelgrad? What is that?" "Athelgrad is the kingdom of light and pure magic, where life harmonizes with nature, ruled by the Lumina family, your family." Layla was shocked. "My family? But I am Layla, a tea seller from Eldoria." Ilara shook her head. "You are Princess Seraphina, the lost heiress to the throne of Athelgrad. You were sent away as a baby during a devastating attack by the Great Shadow, a dark sorcerer hungry for power named Malachor, who sought to destroy our kingdom. Your mother, Queen Elandra, performed her last act of magic to save you and hide you here, hoping you would return one day. Ilara showed Layla undeniable proof, a secret tattoo on Layla's shoulder, hidden under her simple clothes, which glowed golden when touched by the signet ring. She also revealed an old piece of cloth bearing the Lumina family crest and a strand of Layla's mother's hair, which glowed the same golden color when it touched the ring. Layla couldn't comprehend all of this. Her simple life, her small dreams, everything was turned upside down. A princess? A magical kingdom? The Great Shadow? She felt like a character in one of the fairy tales she told her customers. But the warmth of the ring on her finger, the sparkle in Ilara's eyes, and the strange flicker she had recently felt all began to converge into one image. "Why now?" Layla asked, her voice barely audible. "Because Athelgrad is in grave danger. The magical barrier protecting it is weakening, and Malachor, the Great Shadow, is on the verge of completing his conquest. It is time for our princess to return." Ilara spoke of Athelgrad's history, how it was a prosperous kingdom where magic flowed freely and people lived in harmony with forest creatures and rivers. She explained how the Lumina family were guardians of this balance, and their powers stemmed from their deep connection to light and nature. She also revealed how Malachor, a powerful sorcerer expelled by the former king due to his dark magic and dark ambition, had returned for revenge, exploiting a period of weakness after the queen's death. Layla struggled with this new destiny. Could a tea seller become a princess? Could she save an entire kingdom? But she remembered her mother, who had always taught her to be strong and to follow her heart. She remembered her sense of justice and compassion for the needy, qualities she began to realize might be more important than any magic. "I will go," Layla said, her honey-colored eyes glowing with new determination. "I will save my kingdom." Ilara nodded in satisfaction. "The journey will not be easy, Seraphina. It is a path fraught with dangers, but the magic lies within you, and the ring is your key." Before leaving Eldoria, Layla took a last moment at her tea cart. It wasn't just a cart. It was a witness to her past life, to her simple dreams. She left a message for her close friend, Fatima, promising to return. Then she followed Ilara into the unknown, towards a kingdom awaiting its lost princess. Layla and Ilara's arduous journey towards Athelgrad began. It wasn't just a geographical journey, but a path of challenges that tested Layla's nascent magical powers and character. The first of these challenges was the Whispering Forest. It was an ancient, dense forest, its trees intertwined like clasped hands, and its branches twisted into strange shapes. As soon as they entered, whispers began to creep into Layla's ears. Her doubts, her fears, memories of her failures. "You're just a tea seller. How can you be a princess? You're weak. You won't be able to save anyone." The forest began to play with her senses, presenting illusions of loved ones in danger or of Malachor laughing at her weakness. Layla felt fear creep into her heart, but she remembered Ilara's words. "Fear is the greatest weapon of the shadow. You must look it in the eye and overcome it." Layla closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and placed her hand on the signet ring. She felt warmth flow through her veins, and then the terrifying whispers transformed into gentle sounds, as if the forest itself was speaking to her. She focused on the light within her, on her self-belief, and on her desire to save her kingdom. A faint glow emanated from the ring, banishing shadows and illusions. Layla opened her eyes to find the forest had calmed, and the trees whispered soothing melodies. Layla had overcome her inner doubts and taken her first step as a princess. After the Whispering Forest, they reached the Crystal Caves. It was a labyrinth of sparkling passages, its walls and floors made of rainbow-colored crystals, reflecting light in enchanting ways. But these caves were not just beautiful. They were inhabited by elemental spirits that guarded them, demanding riddles to be solved or respect for nature to be shown. In one passage, a water spirit appeared in the form of a beautiful lady made of shimmering water, blocking their way. "What flows but does not move, nurtures life but does not eat?" the spirit asked in a voice dripping with tenderness.
Layla remembered her mother's lessons about respecting nature and how water is the basis of life. "It is the river," Layla replied. "It nourishes the earth and asks for nothing in return." The water spirit smiled and flowed away, opening the path for them. In another challenge, they faced a massive earth spirit, which required them to rearrange scattered stones to form an ancient symbol. Layla did not understand the symbol, but she felt a strange connection to the earth, and her hands began to move automatically, arranging the stones with precision. A faint light emanated from her, forming the symbol perfectly. In these caves, Layla began to realize that magic was not just spells, but a deep connection to the world around her. She began to discover her affinity for the elements, especially light and earth.
The journey wasn't all riddles and gentle magic. In one rugged mountain pass, they reached an old stone bridge that had partially collapsed, leaving a deep chasm over a vast valley. The bridge was guarded by a massive rock creature, an ancient guardian who allowed passage only to those who proved their courage. As they contemplated how to cross, they heard screams. A group of merchants was stranded on the other side of the valley, pursued by mountain bandits. The rock guardian prevented them from crossing even if they could. Layla didn't hesitate. "We must help them," she told Ilara. Layla used her new magic, and the crystals in her ring began to glow powerfully. She directed her energy towards the bridge, and stones slowly began to gather and connect, forming a narrow pathway. It was exhausting, but her determination did not wane. Then she used her voice, which had gained new strength, to shout at the bandits, using some magical words she had learned from Ilara to distract them. The rock guardian recognized Layla's courage and leadership, and saw how she thought not of herself, but of helping others. He allowed her to pass, then helped her guide the merchant safely across the partially repaired bridge. In this challenge, Layla proved her courage and leadership ability, which boosted her self-confidence. Ilara taught her much during this journey about the history of Athelgrad, the Lumina family, and the magic inherent in her blood. The ring began to glow more brightly, and its faded gem changed to a pure sky blue color. In the middle of their journey, they met an unexpected ally, Kyle, a powerfully built warrior with a rugged face but sharp eyes reflecting long combat experience. Kyle was one of the remnants of Athelgrad's ancient guardians who had scattered after the kingdom's fall. He lived in isolation, hunting the shadow creatures that had begun to infiltrate the border regions. Initially, Kyle was skeptical of Layla. "A tea seller claiming to be a princess?" he muttered sarcastically. But when he saw her courage in facing a shadow beast and how she used a glow of light from her ring to repel its attack, his respect began to grow. Kyle taught Layla the basics of hand-to-hand combat, how to use a sword, though she was not a warrior, and how to read terrain and move lightly. He provided her with valuable protection and became a loyal companion, seeing in her the hope he had long sought. Shortly after, Lyra joined them, a graceful young woman with emerald green hair and innocent deer-like eyes. Lyra was a forest creature, a small nature spirit with a deep connection to the earth and animals. She could move through dense forests silently and sense danger from afar. Lyra was cheerful and full of life, yet surprisingly wise. She taught Layla more about nature magic, how to speak to plants, listen to the whispers of rivers, and use the earth's energy for healing and protection. Through Lyra, Layla realized that magic was not just a destructive force, but also a force of life and healing. Layla began to communicate better with forest creatures and draw strength from trees and rivers. With each step, Ilara revealed more about Malachor. He was an incredibly powerful sorcerer who had gained his strength from the shadow itself, from despair and fear. His goal was to drain all magic from Athelgrad, transform it into a barren land, and plunge it into eternal darkness. He had exploited the weakening magical barrier and began polluting the kingdom's main magical springs, turning innocent creatures into his shadow minions. He was fortified in his stronghold, the Shadow Keep, which was located in the heart of Athelgrad, near the kingdom's power center, Sunstone Castle. Layla trained intensively. She learned simple spells, how to channel her energy, and how to use the ring as an amplifier for her power. New abilities began to emerge: the ability to heal small wounds with a touch, the ability to illuminate dark places with a glow from her hand, and the ability to inspire those around her with her words. She saw herself changing, no longer just the frightened tea seller,
but beginning to feel like Princess Seraphina, heiress of light. The ring now glowed with a bright blue light, like a small star on her finger, reflecting her growing power.
After weeks of arduous journey and intensive training, they finally reached the borders of Athelgrad. They pierced the magical barrier, which had become thin and transparent, as if a hidden power was slowly fading. But the sight that greeted them was not the magical paradise Alara had spoken of. Athelgrad was under siege. Withered flowers, diseased trees, rivers flowing slowly as if in pain. The sky was gray, covered with thick clouds, as if the sun had abandoned it. Towers that once shone with light were now dim and covered in shadows. Fear was visible in the eyes of the few residents who still hid in their homes. They were greeted by the remnants of the Royal Guard and the resistance movement, led by Commander Gareth, an old man who was still strong, his face etched with the weariness of years and losses. Gareth was a loyal guardian of the Lumina family and had lost much in Malakor's attack. He looked skeptical when he saw Layla. "A tea seller? Is this our lost princess?" he muttered in a low voice. Many had lost hope, seeing the return of the princess as just another story to inspire them, but they were too tired to listen. But Layla did not hesitate. She stepped forward, her honey-colored eyes radiating determination. "My name is Layla, and I am the daughter of Queen Ilandra. I have returned to Athelgrad." Her words carried a strange resonance, a resonance of authority and truth. She began to share her plans, using the practical wisdom she had gained from her life in Eldoria, mixed with the magical insights that were unfolding to her. She showed deep empathy for their suffering and listened to their stories, which began to soften their hardened hearts. In the following days, Layla began to prove herself. She led her first missions, using her growing magic and tactical thinking. She liberated a small village from the grip of shadow creatures, using a glow of light from her ring to dispel the darkness. She restored the flow of water in a small river that had been polluted by Malakor's magic, using her connection to earth magic. These small victories began to restore hope to the people's hearts. The Royal Guard and the Resistance began to see her not as the tea seller, but as a true leader, as their princess. Layla, with the help of Alara and Gareth, discovered a secret room in the partially destroyed royal palace. The room was hidden behind a wall of magical stones and contained an ancient library full of scrolls and books recounting the history of Athelgrad and the Lumina family. Among these scrolls, Layla found a message from her mother, Queen Ilandra, speaking of the beating heart of Athelgrad, a great magical gem located in the heart of Sunstone Castle, the source of all the kingdom's magic. The message spoke of a prophecy of the lost star, Princess Seraphina, who would return to rekindle Athelgrad's heart and banish the darkness. She also discovered that Malakor sought to contain or destroy this beating heart, as it represented the essence of Athelgrad's power and soul. Layla understood that defeating Malakor not only meant defeating an evil sorcerer, but also saving the soul of an entire kingdom. Their plan became clear. They must reclaim Sunstone Castle and protect the beating heart before Malakor could fully destroy or corrupt it. Layla devised an attack plan, leveraging everything she had learned from Alara, Kyle, and Lyra. She demonstrated strategic thinking, integrating her magic with Kyle's combat tactics, Lyra's knowledge of nature, and Gareth's military expertise. The atmosphere was tense in Sunstone Castle. The castle, once a center of light and magic, was now surrounded by Malakor's army of fearsome shadow creatures. The sky above was grim black, and the land around it was cracking and drying. The final battle was about to begin. Malakor launched his final attack, attempting to crush the resistance and end Athelgrad forever. His army of shadows flowed like black waves towards the castle gates. Layla stood at the forefront of the guards and resistance, alongside Ilara, Kyle, Lyra, and Gareth. She wore light armor crafted for her from Athelgrad's magical metals, and the signet ring glowed brightly on her finger with a bright blue radiance. "For Athelgrad!" Layla cried, her voice echoing across the battlefield, inspiring hope in the hearts of the warriors. The battle erupted. It was an epic battle where the light of Athelgrad clashed with the darkness of Malachor. Kyle skillfully wielded his sword, cutting through the ranks of shadows, while Lyra moved gracefully, summoning forest creatures to aid her and launching green arrows of energy. Gareth bravely led the royal guard, defending the castle with all their might. As for Layla, she unleashed her full magical powers. She cast blasts of pure light, dispelling shadows and driving away Malachor's creatures. She formed magical shields to protect her allies and used healing magic to revive the injured. Her energy flowed from her like an inexhaustible spring, and the ring glowed with unprecedented power, amplifying every spell. She appeared as a star descended from the sky, a leader of light in a sea of darkness. Malachor watched from the top of the castle tower, laughing fiercely, sending more of his creatures, but he realized that this girl was not just a tea seller. At the climax of the battle, Layla made her way towards the castle tower, determined to confront Malachor face to face. Kyle and Lyra followed, protecting her back. When she reached the top of the tower, she found Malachor standing before the beating heart of Athelgrad, which was slowly pulsing, surrounded by his dark magic. Malachor planned to fully absorb its energy or destroy it. Malachor's face was distorted by dark power, his eyes burning with evil. "You have returned at last, lost princess," Malachor said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "But it is too late. Athelgrad will die and will be plunged into my darkness forever." Malachor tried to mock her, reminding her of her humble life as a tea seller, trying to plant doubt in her heart. But Layla did not hesitate. "I am not the weak tea seller you remember, Malachor. I am Princess Seraphina, heiress of Athelgrad, and I will not allow you to destroy my kingdom." A tremendous magical duel erupted. Malachor unleashed spheres of darkness, dark magical symbols, and tried to envelop her with illusions. But Layla responded with a barrage of light rays, impenetrable magical shields, and with her voice, which carried the power of prophecy, dispelled his illusions. The battle pushed her to her limits, but she remembered everything she had learned, everyone she fought for. She remembered her mother's face and the warmth of the ring in her hand. In a critical moment, when Malachor tried to deliver a fatal blow to the beating heart, Layla realized that the ring was not just a key or an amplifier of her power. It was a direct conduit to the pure energy of the Lumina family and the very soul of Athelgrad. Layla raised her hand holding the ring, and the ring glowed with a dazzling sky blue light, emitting pulses of pure energy. She connected herself directly to the beating heart, using the ring as a bridge. She let out a resounding cry and unleashed a massive burst of light energy, an ancient spell her mother had entrusted to the ring before sending her away. This light was stronger than any magic she had ever seen. The pure light engulfed Malachor, dispelling his darkness and revealing his true form, a frail, pale being, his dark power fading like vapor in the sun. The Great Shadow was nothing but a sorcerer hungry for power, who had absorbed his strength from the surrounding shadow creatures, which now vanished. Malachor screamed in pain, then dissipated into the air, leaving behind only dark ashes. Life returned to the beating heart, and it began to glow with a bright golden light, bringing life back to Athelgrad. With Malachor's defeat, the darkness lifted from Athelgrad. The sun returned to shine in its sky, and the gray clouds began to dissipate. The land began to heal. Withered flowers revived, trees regained their greenery, and rivers flowed clearly again. Cries of joy and celebration rose from the hearts of the liberated inhabitants. Their princess had returned and saved their kingdom. Layla, now Queen Seraphina, was crowned in a majestic ceremony in Sunstone Castle, which had regained its splendor. She wore a flowing white gown, and the signet ring adorned her finger, glowing with renewed power, symbolizing a new era. Layla never forgot her humble beginnings. She used the wisdom she gained as a tea seller and her empathy for people to lead Athelgrad. She worked tirelessly to rebuild the kingdom, focusing on justice and equality for all, whether mages or not. She gave her loyal allies honorary positions. Ilara became her chief advisor, Kyle the captain of her royal guard, Lyra the guardian of the forests, and Gareth the army commander. Under Queen Seraphina's rule, Athelgrad flourished to become a beacon of magic and hope once again. She carefully reopened communication channels with the outside world, Eldoria, establishing trade and diplomatic relations, sharing Athelgrad's magic and beauty with the world, while preserving its secrets. Layla was no longer just the tea seller, nor merely a lost princess. She had become Queen Seraphina, who combined street wisdom with the power of the throne, the simplicity of the past with the grandeur of the future. She had found her true identity, not just as a princess, but as a wise and courageous leader. And Athelgrad, under her leadership, lived a new era of peace and prosperity, with the promise of a bright future. All thanks to a simple girl and an old ring holding the secret of a kingdom.